All right, so in this situation, we're going to build on what we learned in the last lesson with regards to using conditions like ifs and thens. So what I'm starting off with here is a place where you can type in some numbers. And what I want you to do is I want you to type in numbers, and then I want you to compare those numbers by activating this basic compare function, which I've created here. All right? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create variables that grab the values that are in this these fields. Okay, so I'm going to say we're going to have field 1 equals document, should become familiar by now, get element by ID, input value 1, and in this case it's value because it's a field. Okay, and then field 2 is going to be document get element by ID, input value to value. Now, we could have done this in a different way. We could have passed these variables as parameters to this function, right? We could say, if this was a form or something like that, we could say on click this value is sent in, but this is a good way to do it. Document get element by ID, input value. And so right now we have field 1, field 2, and let's just see how this looks. I'm going to say document get element by ID demo inner HTML equals, and I'm going to do field 1 plus field 2. All right, so that should get me the sum of those two fields put as the inner HTML, right? For this paragraph tag right here. Let's see if that works. So I put 43 and I put 34. 43 plus 34 is 77. But look what it does. Because it's treating these as two strings, okay? And for comparison's sake, I don't want to treat them as strings. And they're strings because they haven't been defined as number data types. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the value that is being sent in and turn it into a number data type, right? Now I can compare non-number data types, but they don't work exactly the way numbers do. If I'm comparing Fraser's name and Mary's name, then it's going to compare them based on alphabetical listing as opposed to other things. So it's not as dependable as comparing numbers if that's what you're really trying to do. And in this case, I want to do numbers. So let's do that again. I've changed them into numbers by creating the number data type and saying that I want this to be turned into a number. And now 34 plus 43 is going to turn into 77. All right, so we're good. So now what I want to do is I'm going to call this greeting. I'm going to make a variable call that's, I'm going to do an if-then statement. Okay, so let's write this from scratch. If field 1, parentheses, if field 1 equals field 2, then this is where I say what I want to happen. I want to say greeting 1, all right, I'm going to do this. Greeting 1 equals fields are equal. Okay? So let's try that out. So let's say 34, 43. Wait, that can't be right? It says fields are equal, but those two things don't equal. And that's because we can't use just the equal sign, or else that will make them equal. So what we want to do is we use two equal signs in if statements in JavaScript. So we say field 1 equal equal field 2, and that checks for their true equality. So in this situation, 34 and 43, it's not going to do anything. But if I change that to 34, fields are equal. All right? So now that's all well and good. We just got to remember that. But what happens if it's not equal? Well, what do we want to do? So if they're not, so what we want to do is introduce the concept of an else statement, okay? And an else statement is what do we want to do if it's not equal? So we'll say greeting 1 equal fields are not equal, okay? So let's try that. 34, 43, fields are not equal, but if they are equal, fields are equal. So we're in good shape, right? Great. So let's say we want to be a little bit more specific, and we want to say field, if they're equal, then this, else, what we can do here is we can put another condition. So we can say field 1 greater than field 2. So we'll say field 1 is greater than field 2. Okay. So this is good, right? We say if this, then if it's equal, then we give this message. If this is greater than, then we give this message. But we really want to then say, actually, let me change that. That says else if. So what that does is says if field 1 is equal to field 2, show this message. Else, if field 1 is greater than field 2, show this message. And then I can put in a last else statement, which is the stuff that it does if none of those things are true. And in this case, there's only a few things that can be true. Either it can be equal, it can be greater than, or it can be less than. So in that case, I'll put down here less than. So this gives me a little bit more information in my basic compare. So we'll say 16 plus 34, or 16 and 34. Field 1 is less than field 2. That's right. If this was different, 34, 16, or 15, field 1 is greater than field 2. That's good. And then if I say 34, fields are equal. All right? So that is an if, else, if, else. And you can do it if, else, if you just have two choices, or you can do multiple else, ifs. And we're going to learn in, I think, the next lesson how to do this a little bit simpler. Or, well, it's not a little bit simpler. It's more if you have specific values. Like we did, remember, with the days, where it's like if it's number 1, then it's going to be Monday. If it's number 2, then it's going to be Tuesday, etc. So a couple things I want to show you here. One is that you don't have to just do field 1 and field 2, right? You can say field 1. But remember how we do this? We do plus, and then, so we're doing the number, the variable, and then the string is greater than, right? And here we would change that and say field 1 plus is less than field 2. So now we're getting some real value, right? We say 34, 43. Oh, I don't know if you caught it, but I had an extra apostrophe here, and that screwed up my statement, so I just found that and debugged it. Okay, Mr. O'Leary makes mistakes too, right? As we've all seen over and over again. But so now I click Save Work and Show Web Page, 34, 43, and you can say 34 is less than 43. So it gives some good value. The other thing I wanted you to do, and we'll do this in the last minute and a half, is I wanted you to create a little quiz, right? So here we'll say the sum. And what we're going to do is create a value, input value 3, and we're going to test whether, we'll say sum of fields is field 1 plus field 2, right? And then we'll say submitted sum equals number, and then we'll do this. We're going to test, is the answer that the person gives for what these two numbers would total correct? So what we've done here is we've totaled the two numbers, right? So this gives number 1 and number 2 and adds them together, and then it creates a variable called submitted sum, and takes the value, input value 3, that is that the person enters into this third field, and then what we're going to do is test it. Okay, so if we're going to say we'll get rid of these here, and we'll say, I guess we can leave that actually. We'll just leave that in there. But we'll change this to greeting 2. So we'll create a new if statement. So we'll say if sum of fields equals, remember 2 equal signs, submitted sum, then, and people tend to do this. I don't know that I really like it, but they tend to do this in the programming I see. Then we'll say greeting 2 equals you are correct. And then if we say then else, we'll say, we'll put in our brackets, and we'll say greeting 2 equals, and then let's do it right. Say submitted sum is not correct. The correct answer is, and then we'll put in the correct answer, which is sum of fields. All right, and then we'll even put in a exclamation point just for good measure. All right, so let's try that out. So 43 plus 34, does it equal 77? You are correct. But if we say that it equals 76, 76 is not correct. The correct answer is 77. All right, so fantastic. That's our quiz. Go take a look at that. Fix all the errors that I had here. But those are the 3 things I want you to do to sort of get your understanding of how comparisons work.